Welcome to Unfiltered Reflections. I'm your host, Passion, and today we're pulling back the curtain on something that honestly messes with a lot of us in the dating world. It's something I like to call the dating doppelganger dilemma, finding your complement, not your clone. Now, before you go thinking this is just another dating advice podcast telling you to swipe left on anyone who doesn't like pineapple on their pizza, though, let's be real. That's a strong stance for some. This is about something much, much bigger. This isn't just about who you date, it's about how we see ourselves, how we connect with others, and what it truly means to build something meaningful with another human being. So, what exactly is this dating doppelganger dilemma? Well, it's this sneaky, almost subconscious urge many of us have to find someone who is essentially a mirror image of ourselves. Someone who thinks exactly like us, has the exact same hobbies, the same political views, the same taste in music, movies, even the same brand of toothpaste. It's like we're out there with a checklist and we're looking for someone who ticks every single box, a perfect carbon copy of our ideal self. And on the surface, it makes sense, right? If they're just like me, we'll never argue, we'll always agree, life will be a perfectly harmonized symphony of sameness. Sounds great in theory. But here's the thing in practice, it's often a recipe for disaster, or at the very least, a whole lot of missed opportunities for real connection. Think about it. We're all walking around with our own unique blend of experiences, scars, triumphs, quirks, and dreams. We're incredibly complex beings, each of us a universe unto ourselves. And yet, when it comes to finding a partner, we often narrow our focus to such a degree that we're essentially looking for someone who's a slightly less interesting version of ourselves. Someone who doesn't challenge us, doesn't surprise us, doesn't bring anything truly new to the table. And that, my friends, is where the dating doppelganger dilemma really kicks in. This isn't just some abstract concept. This relates to the fundamental aspects of the human experience in ways we often overlook. What are we all, at our core, seeking? Connection, belonging, understanding, love. And true love, true connection, isn't about finding someone identical to you. It's about finding someone who complements you, who fills in the gaps you didn't even know you had, who sees the world from a slightly different angle and helps you see it more fully. Think about the emotions this topic brings up. There's the initial hope, right? That rush of excitement when you find someone who seems to check all those boxes, someone who gets you. But then, sometimes, there's the creeping boredom, the frustration when you realize that sameness can lead to stagnation. Or even worse, the disappointment when you find someone who is too much like you, and suddenly you're staring at your own flaws magnified, without the balance of someone else's strengths. There's also the fear of being alone, which can sometimes push us to settle for the doppelganger, because at least they're familiar, predictable. And then there's the joy, the genuine deep joy, that comes from truly connecting with someone who challenges you, who expands your world, who brings out a part of you that you didn't even know existed. We've all had common experiences related to this, haven't we? Maybe you've been on a date where it felt like you were talking to yourself. Or maybe you've seen those couples who are so alike, they almost seem to merge into one bland entity. Or on the flip side, maybe you've witnessed those truly vibrant relationships where two completely different people just work. They have their own interests, their own friends, their own ways of doing things, but somehow they fit together like perfectly mismatched puzzle pieces. They're not identical, but they complete the picture. I hope you carry away from this episode, from this conversation, is this true partnership isn't about finding your mirror. It's about finding your missing piece. It's about understanding that strength often comes from diversity, even in a relationship. It's about celebrating the unique beauty that another person brings to your life, rather than trying to mold them into a reflection of yourself. Let's unpack this a bit. We often see examples of this in what we consider happy marriages or long-term partnerships. You'll find the introverted librarian married to the gregarious salesperson, the meticulous planner partnered with the spontaneous adventurer, the quiet artist with the booming entrepreneur. It seems counterintuitive, right? How do these seemingly opposite personalities not just survive, but thrive? The magic, my friends, happens when these differences are not just tolerated, but genuinely embraced and appreciated. It's not about one person changing for the other or one person dominating the other. It's about recognizing that where one person might be weak, the other is strong, and together they create a stronger, more resilient unit. Think about it like this: if you're both exactly the same, who brings a new perspective to a problem? Who challenges your assumptions? Who introduces you to new ideas, new experiences, new ways of seeing the world? If you're both identical, you're essentially operating with half the potential. But when you have someone who brings a different lens, a different skill set, a different emotional landscape, suddenly your combined potential isn't just additive, it's exponential. This principle is particularly relevant in our current age of dating apps, where we have an abundance of choices, which paradoxically often leads to increased dissatisfaction. We create these profiles, right? We list our hobbies, our political leanings, our favorite obscure indie bands, our dietary preferences. And then we filter, looking for someone who aligns with every single one of those listed preferences. We're setting up a dating profile that, intentionally or not, seeks a mirror image. Someone who votes the same way, enjoys the same music, aligns with every single listed preference. And what's the result? A date who sometimes feels more like a sibling than a romantic partner. There's no spark, no mystery, no compelling dynamic, because you've already pre-vetted them into oblivion. You've filtered out the very elements that could make a connection truly exciting and enriching. The common pitfall here is that we confuse compatibility with sameness. Compatibility isn't about liking all the same things. It's about sharing core values, having mutual respect, and being able to navigate differences with understanding and empathy. You can have wildly different interests and still be incredibly compatible if you respect each other's passions and find joy in supporting them. One of the most insidious aspects of this dating doppelganger dilemma is the common, almost universal desire to change one's partner. We've all heard the old saying, right? That women are frustrated because they thought they could change their husbands, while men are frustrated because they believed their wives would never change, and yet they do. The truth is, attempting to alter a partner fundamentally misunderstands the essence of a healthy relationship. It's a form of egotism, really. It's saying you're almost perfect, but if you were just a little more like me, then you'd be truly perfect. And that, my friends, is a sure path to resentment and unhappiness. Think about the psychological and sociological insights here. Why do we fall into this trap? Part of it is comfort. Sameness feels safe. It reduces the unknown, the unpredictable. We're wired to seek patterns, to find familiarity. And in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, the idea of a partner who is a predictable extension of ourselves can be incredibly appealing. But growth, true growth, rarely happens in comfort zones. It happens when we're challenged, when we're exposed to new ideas, when we step outside of what we already know. Another factor is ego. We often believe our way of thinking, our preferences, our perspectives are the right ones. So naturally, we seek out someone who validates that, someone who confirms our worldview. But a truly rich relationship isn't about constant validation. It's about mutual growth. It's about challenging each other, gently, respectfully, to see things differently, to learn, to evolve. And then there's the societal pressure. We see portrayals of perfect couples in media, often presented as these perfectly aligned, indistinguishable duos who finish each other's sentences and have never had a disagreement. This creates an unrealistic expectation, making us believe that any deviation from this idealized sameness is a sign of incompatibility. But real life, real relationships are messy, beautiful, and full of glorious differences. So instead of seeking a mirror, what if we embraced the beauty of complementarity? What if we reveled in the discovery of all the ways you differ and used those differences as building blocks for a thriving connection? Imagine the richness, imagine the conversations, imagine the new experiences you'd have, introduced to you by someone who sees the world through a completely different lens. This is about building bridges, not just within your relationship, but within yourself. It's about expanding your own capacity for understanding, for empathy, for love. When you embrace someone's differences, you're not just loving them, you're loving the diversity of human experience. You're saying, I value who you are precisely because you are not me and you bring something unique and wonderful into my life. Let me tell you a story. I knew a couple. Let's call them Sarah and Tom. Sarah was an accountant, meticulous, organized, loved her spreadsheets and quiet evenings at home with a good book. Tom was a musician, spontaneous, a little messy, always chasing the next gig or jam session. On paper, they seemed like an unlikely pair. Their friends often wondered how they made it work. But what made it work was precisely their differences. Sarah brought structure and calm to Tom's sometimes chaotic life, helping him with the practicalities of being a working musician, taxes, scheduling, remembering to eat actual meals. Tom, in turn, pulled Sarah out of her comfort zone. He introduced her to new music, took her to impromptu concerts, encouraged her to embrace spontaneity. He reminded her to loosen up, to enjoy the moment. They didn't try to change each other. Sarah didn't try to make Tom a spreadsheet enthusiast, and Tom didn't try to make Sarah a rock star. They celebrated each other's unique strengths and found immense joy in the balance they created together. They were truly complementary. This isn't about settling for someone you don't connect with. It's about broadening your definition of connection. It's about looking beyond the superficial similarities and digging deeper into shared values, mutual respect, emotional intelligence, and a genuine desire to support each other's growth. So, how do we shift our mindset? How do we avoid the allure of dating a clone and truly appreciate the uniqueness of our partner or potential partner? First, practice self-awareness. Understand your own strengths and weaknesses. What are you truly good at? What do you struggle with? What kind of energy do you bring to a relationship? What kind of energy do you need from a partner? This isn't about finding someone to fix you, but about understanding where you might benefit from a different perspective or approach. Second, redefine compatibility. Move beyond the checklist of hobbies and preferences. Instead, focus on core values. Do you share similar beliefs about honesty, kindness, ambition, family, personal growth? These are the foundational elements that truly make a relationship strong, not whether you both like the same obscure anime. Third, embrace curiosity. When you meet someone new, don't just look for similarities. Actively seek out their differences. Ask questions about their unique experiences, their passions, their perspectives. Be genuinely curious about what makes them them. See their differences not as obstacles, but as opportunities for learning and growth. Fourth, practice appreciation. Once you're in a relationship, actively appreciate your partner's unique qualities, especially those that are different from your own. If they're spontaneous and you're a planner, appreciate how they push you to be more flexible. If they're quiet and you're outgoing, appreciate their calm presence and their ability to listen deeply. Verbalize this appreciation. Let them know you value what they bring to the table. Fifth, challenge your own ego. When you find yourself wanting to change something about your partner, ask yourself why. Is it truly for their benefit, or is it because you want them to conform to your ideal? A healthy relationship is about supporting each other to be the best versions of themselves, not the best versions of you. This shift in perspective can set the stage for a relationship that transcends the limitations of sameness and celebrates the richness of diversity. It leads to deeper understanding, richer experiences, and a more resilient, dynamic partnership. The anticipation factor here is that once you start looking for a complement instead of a clone, the whole dating landscape opens up. You're no longer limited to a tiny subset of people who are just like you. You suddenly see potential in a much wider array of individuals. And that, my friends, is incredibly exciting. It means more opportunities for genuine connection, more chances to learn, and more ways to grow. So what specific action can you take after listening to this? I want you to do two things. First, if you're single and actively dating, take a look at your dating profile, or at least your internal checklist for a partner. Are you inadvertently creating a filter that only allows for doppelgangers? Challenge yourself to broaden your criteria. Think about what core values truly matter and be open to different personalities, different interests, different ways of experiencing the world. Don't immediately dismiss someone because they don't tick every single box on your sameness list. Look for that spark, that genuine curiosity, that sense of complementary energy. Second, if you're in a relationship, take a moment to reflect on your partner's unique qualities, especially those that are different from your own. Think about how those differences actually strengthen your relationship. How do they challenge you, teach you, or bring balance? And then make a conscious effort to express your appreciation for those specific differences to your partner. Tell them what you value about their unique perspective or their distinct way of being. It might just be the most loving thing you do today. This isn't about settling. It's about expanding your capacity for love and connection. It's about understanding that the most beautiful harmonies are often created when different notes come together. It's about recognizing that true strength comes from embracing diversity, not uniformity. The core question we started with was, what are the fundamental feelings, experiences, and struggles that unite us all, regardless of our differences? How does the dating doppelganger dilemma touch on these core aspects of being human? It touches on our universal desire for connection, for belonging, for love. It speaks to our struggles with self acceptance, our fear of the unknown, and our tendency to seek comfort over growth. But it also highlights our incredible capacity for empathy, for understanding, and for building bridges with those who are different from us. It reminds us that true intimacy isn't about merging into one, but about two distinct individuals coming together, celebrating their unique identities, and building something stronger, richer, and more beautiful than either could create alone. So, the next time you're swiping or meeting someone new, or even just reflecting on your current relationship, remember, the goal isn't to find your clone. The goal is to find your complement. Someone who doesn't just reflect you, but refracts you, showing you new angles, new colors, new possibilities. And that, my friends, is where the real magic happens. If you'd enjoyed this episode, please visit our website at deszicakes.com. Thanks for joining me on Unfiltered Reflection. Until next time, be kind to yourself, keep exploring, and remember, you are worthy, you are seen, and you are loved.